Wow, 8 o'clock on a Thursday night, and all of you are hanging out with us. You must really like Dungeons and Dragons. Well, I'm really excited because I just started the show, what, like 4 weeks ago? Yeah, so you are here because of the Storyteller's Guide, where I, Satine Phoenix, kind of bring my friends in to show you how easy it is to create stories. It really is easy. So why don't my guests tell you who they are and how you might know them?
Hi, I'm Travis McElroy. I am one of 3 McElroy brothers and one of 4 hosts of the Adventure Zone. I had to do the math for a second. I do a role-playing, real play, sort of actual play, don't follow the rules podcast on the Adventure Zone, where we have so far done Dungeons and Dragons, Urban Shadows, Fate, and Monster.
Hi, I'm Kailey Bray. I'm one of 2 Bray sisters, and I'm the game master of Damsels, Dice, and Everything Nice, the Princess Parody Show.
How many Dungeon Masters do we have here today? Oh, yes! Yes, thank you. How many writers? Cool. So the point of the show is that this whole storytelling thing transcends just Dungeons and Dragons role-playing games. You can use these skills for all of your storytelling. So, it is 8:03. We have
The witching hour.
the story hour. And we're going to start, because I would like at the end of this to have like a 10-minute Q&A, if that's cool with you guys. So, if you're all settled in, let's begin the Storyteller's Guide. Okay, guys, so here's the funny game. So, how do we begin? One of the things I noticed is that people don't start their adventure storytelling the same way. So, how would you guys like to begin?
Well, so that's do you all know who Patrick Ross is? Right, okay. One time I heard him, he was talking about like world building, and one of the things he said is like everybody ends up having that like kernel of something that like you find out you really deeply care about, and it's super nerdy. And for him, it's currency, and I don't know if you picked up on that. But for me, I always find I like societal like levels. I like organizations. And I think it comes from being raised Southern Baptist, which I'm not anymore. But I like the idea of like, what is the social strata? What are the kind of governing bodies? Because I think once you find the structure, you can start rebelling against it, and that to me is like where story comes from. Of like, what's the change in the like the norm?
You're so deep. Thank you. Cool. All right, so we are going to have to start there. Kailey, how would you start as like a yes and for this?
I usually like to start my stories with some kind of relationship, and then build characters out of that kind of a relationship. So, I mean, that balances perfectly with the idea of government and social hierarchies and where that falls as far as plot or some kind of inciting incident.
Yes. And it's also great, I love starting with the relationship of the PCs, but also like the NPCs.
Yeah.
Because within relationship, there is inherently conflict. Even if it's like, you're trying to protect someone or save someone from themselves or whatever, like, it's one of the greatest motivators you can do of like, okay, well, you're 2 friends who grew up together and now one of you has joined the priesthood and one of you is like a criminal, right? Like that is like such a great starting point because it can go anywhere, you know?
All right, real quick, you've got 1 minute. Social structure, go. We're gonna keep it tight. We're gonna keep it in the like general fantasy realm. So forest, castles. What is the social structure of this adventure? We'll say a 4-hour adventure. Levels. What level? 5 to 10, that's a range. Okay, so we'll do 8. Double 8. Okay, how many players?
4. 4? I like 4.
Okay, 4 players. That is what you have to go with, and it's fantasy.
I would probably, so like, just going off of that, I like the idea of like a noble having to recruit like 4 kind of, you know, ruffians to help, like, if that feels like, you know, kind of that like, almost a heist at like a party or something, you know, just like, listen, I don't want to get my hands dirty, I need you to like, so they come to a tavern and just like pick 4 roguish folks. Because then you get the really nice like butting heads of like, okay, but don't hurt anybody.
I like that too, because then there's already a power imbalance, but it can go either way, who has more power in which instance, so you can have a lot of really rich RP just ready.
I also like it because that's another reason I really like the kind of like different levels of like social and groups and everything, is that it gives a lot of handhold for your players to say like, oh, so maybe mine's like a disgraced person, or maybe mine's like a social climber, or maybe mine is like in the King's Guard or whatever. And so like, I love any prompts you can give player characters of like, this is a world where this matters and this doesn't matter and this is important and this isn't important. So what does that spark? What joy does that spark?
Okay, so I'm seeing a town. So we're in a town that has a tavern on the outskirts.
Mm-hmm.
There is an entire like range that goes from noble to king.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there is our social structure. Currency, lots of money floating around or sparse?
It feels like a 1%er kind of thing, right?
So everyone knows this guy who's coming to the...
Yeah, right. Where there's like, you know, 10 kind of noble families kind of deal, and they have everything. And then there's like everybody else.
Okay.
Almost like serfs, that kind of really, really impoverished everyone else.
Yes.
All right, we're pulling now relationships. So we have the currency, we have the structure, relationships. Noble, what are they asking for? What is the relationship they're trying to fix or ruin or what?
So that's the thing, I like the idea of like a Robin Hood kind of thing, where it's like a noble who's like, listen, I know that this is wrong. Like, I know that this is bad, and I think that we can like change it. I think that we can disrupt it, and I know where like the money's gonna be on this one night. But like, if I do it, everyone's gonna know I did it. So I can be the inside person, give you like all the information to like, I'll be your inside man kind of deal.
Oh,
That gives the chance for a really cool setting for like an event, a ball, or a festival, or something that's very glamorous and gives everyone's imagination a chance to really sink their teeth into something.
And also lots of checks. Lots of rolls you can do to get in there, lots of stuff.
cool. Okay. I thought I said chicks.
Lots of chicks.
Yeah.
Lots of audacious babes.
Those two, for sure.
So we now have an event. This is cool. So this is how it works, right? Okay, we have an event. What is the event? Is there masks involved?
I think there's
Yes, I mean, that's the thing. If you're doing an infiltration thing, masquerade.
I am leading the question.
Yeah. Masquerade is a good way to go. Once again, another chance to prompt your players of like, what would you wear,
Yeah.
right? What's your costume? And also you get to build in like a training montage. Which I love. Where the noble's like coaching.
I do that in Sirens a lot, where they're like, because all the girls want to go shopping.
Right.
Jason, he always wears like a cobalt skin gold suit.
Yes.
Yes, you
Yeah. Listen, it's great. Shopping montage is wonderful. I like when you give a chance for players to be dumb. Like, have really stupid fun, right? Where like there is no wrong answer to this, because there will then come tough choices. And if you give them easy choices, like tell me, like, where would you go in this fantasy mall or whatever, and they can make fantasy food court jokes, right? It gets them more comfortable, like just saying yes to like dumb things. So that way, when you're like, tell me about the relationship with like your father in this world, like, cool, yeah, here's the answer, because I've already gotten comfortable giving answers off the top of my head.
That's a really cool game master tip in general. Warming up your players at the table, usually in the beginning, so that they feel comfortable, because a lot of people are afraid to make decisions. Okay, we have a masquerade. We have players, we have an NPC who wants a thing. So, we have a lot of content. Now we need like actual story structure.
Yeah.
Is it a 3-act? Is it a 4-act? We've got 4 hours. How do you break it up? Do you weave in a bathroom break?
Yes.
Bio break.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, also for your characters. Listen, not enough. This is something I champion in the Adventure Zone. Both in movies, TV show, and just every piece of media. Not enough fantasy characters going to the bathroom. And as I say that out loud, that sounds really weird. I don't mean that in a weird way. No shame.
How many of you put restrooms in your games?
Yes.
I do too. Also, all my sirens like to hang out in bathrooms.
That's one of my favorite things. By the way, this is a homebrew rule that we started doing. If you ever played the Game of Thrones board game, it's great, and it can take forever. But we instituted a rule where every 3 rounds, we would take a 20-minute break where everyone had to get up from the table and separate so we could plot one-on-one with everybody away from everyone else. So like you could go up to the guy getting pizza and be like, I just don't trust those folks. And it made it feel so much more like intense.
Do you want to put that in?
Yeah, see, I like that.
You got a GOT moment.
Yeah, right, especially that's the thing, if we're talking about like a heist kind of thing, it's not guaranteed that everyone works together, right? Especially if these are 4 random people who didn't know each other before, like the characters didn't know each other before they started. Never assume teamwork, right? Give people the option of just like, maybe backstab, right?
I love how that adds LARP elements and other kinds of storytelling to the adventure too, because it gives us the chance to be a storyteller instead of just
Well, and it also gives you a chance to set up stunts, which I always like. I like, whenever Griffin and I get to be player characters together, and we're away from the table, it's always like, okay, what if, and you do this, and then I like jump off your back, right? And so then we come back to the table and like surprise the DM. The DM's like, okay, that's dumb, all right.
That's an inspiration.
Okay.
Stunts are inspiration. Okay.
I also like the idea of if we're doing a masquerade, like some kind of specific target, right? Because I always lean towards the 3-act structure, right? Where Act 1 is like the setup and the planning. Act 2 is, if all goes well, we're done by the end of Act 2. And never does it go all well. And Act 3 is like, well, another fine mess, right? And that to me creates the like, a build, you know, that arc of like, I like giving players the feeling of some kind of closure, some kind of like, you did it. No matter what you did, who knows? Maybe it was absolute chaos, but it had some kind of beginning, middle, and end.
So with this kind of dungeon master, or this kind of adventure design, a lot of times we start developing the story details up front, and then you have your middle part. And then you have to understand what kind of questions to ask your players, or how to listen to your players in those first 2 parts to have that organic improvisation ending. Like you don't always have to have one outcome, right? Obviously, you know, railroading or whatever. But being able to have your idea blossom because of the things that they did. So, fun and games. Not over, but now we're going to put it into the structure. So let's start with Act 1. Act 1, they're in a tavern. A mysterious person opens the door, wind is billowing, leaves in, or is it just like a billboard?
It feels to me like, if I was going to play an NPC that was recruiting this that came from like nowhere, I'd make them awkward. You know, like not using the right coded language to like ask for criminals. Who's like, I'm looking for criminals, and was cool, right? Like, so it seems to me like somebody fish out of water is way more interesting than just like somebody who's confidently like advertised. So I like the idea of like putting this noble in like kind of a seedy tavern, you know?
Yeah, Kailey, you are an expert at like accents and dialects and everything. What does this novel sound like?
I feel like this novel really has to have like a little bit of something that is just really unsure, and young. I think the kind of novel that this would be someone who's young and very earnest, but not really sure he's going to be able to get the words out, but really focused at doing the right thing so that
something that's so like easy to overlook when you're doing it, but having NPC like character growth, that can be so fulfilling for players. That's one of my favorite things that Griffin does in the Adventure Zone is like making somebody that like then we the players get invested in helping. So if I was a player and I was into that, I was like, hey man, why don't you come with us and we'll all be a team together? That's immediately right. You're our friend now. Come on.
Come on, an adventure.
We'll do a king speech thing. Right. I've never seen kings.
All right, so awkward noble walks into a tavern and says, I need to do a heist. What are we heisting and why? What is the purpose? What does he tell these people? And why do they care?
So it seems like I'd want to set up there is one kind of maybe king or some kind of lead noble or a baron or whatever who is a real piece of shit, right? Somebody that you feel really good, a real Andy Garcia type. Guys, she's 11, right? Okay. But something where it's like we're going to be at this party at their home, right? Doing some kind of event where everyone will be distracted, and we need to get the key off of him while he's distracted and clean out his vault or whatever and then disperse.
Could he have a magical item that technically belongs to the community?
Yes.
And that all of the prosperity that should be spread within the community because of this magical item is instead being hoarded.
Yes. Maybe something that's makes the land fertile or whatever, so you pay him to make sure your farm is successful and it's
elemental.
Yes, right.
It's one of those little, what are they called? Those little incense things? A censer.
Censer, yes.
Yeah, but a cool, big one.
But a cool one.
Well, it doesn't.
But a real extreme one. Like Mountain Dew made a censer.
Yeah, nice one.
That was hilarious.
You're too funny for all of us.
No. What if, because you said elemental, what if the players find out that the reason for the prosperity is a being and not a thing? If they find out at the end, they're like, oh, we gotta go get this thing. They open the door and they're like, it's the big fancy incense thing that we just said the name of and I wasn't listening.
Censer.
Censer. I went to Catholic school. And instead, it's a djinn or an elemental that is actually providing all of this wealth enslaved to the commerce.
That's such a good second act, end of second act into third act, and now what, right? Because now it's, do you set it free? Do you harness it for your own power? Do you what do you do with this new information that you gathered? And maybe you could even, depending on it seems like a card you could play is maybe there. Yes, I finally a way to re-achieve glory and back to my status and make the world a better place. And my God will forgive me or whatever, right? And then you can also just have road big payday. Sounds great.
Shiny stuff.
Yeah.
it's right. Cool. So what you have to do is you have to get the item, but also get information.
I think maybe that because if you're setting up a heist, hi everybody. Travis, this is my type of a heist. If you're setting up a heist, they can't know where the item is, right? Because you need a face, you need somebody who's going to talk to this node, to the bad king or whatever, or is going to ingratiate themselves into to say and then it's so wondrous the way you do that. How do you do that? And charm them into telling you what you need to know, because that's another thing that I highly recommend as a DM is once you find out what the player characters are, design very specific, this is clearly a task for the rogue. This is very clearly a task for the wizard. This is right, so that way it feels oh, I know why I'm here. And then it also gives your NPC young noble a chance to go into the tavern and say, I need a rogue a wizard, a fight, and it's like, okay, well that's like, do you sign
All right, so the players all bought in immediately. It's great.
Yeah. They're some of the best improv you've ever seen.
And they make their way to this masquerade. Now, do they all go and, like, do you, I don't want to lead anything. What next? And?
I mean, I would probably do a time jump of just like, okay, and it's the night up, right? And so that way you can have a moment of like, okay, so what are we gonna do? And like go over the plan again, right? Because that's another thing that you would do if you were doing on ice, but also make the player characters feel like everybody knows what they're doing and we all feel like we're in on it, right? Which is the way to go. So I would ask the players, like, how do you infiltrate? What's your plan, right? Because you're probably gonna have somebody who's like, I walk straight up to the gate and talk my way in. You're gonna have like some halfling rogue who like backflips off the wall. Okay, go for it. All right, that's gonna take a big roll. That kind of thing, give them the option of how do you get up.
Okay, so as a game master, as a designer of this game, do we design the location or do we let the players start designing it with you?
I always believe in the like, you build the roof and they decorate it kind of deal. Of just like, you know what kind of a stage we look like. We got an outer wall, we have some kind of distance between the wall and the house. Big windows, very showy, right? And so then say, what would you use, right? Are there any gargoyles? Like, yes, there are gargoyles, like all the, So like that kind of deal, and let them ask questions, which you can say no to if they're like, is there a cellar? Like, no. We're talking about a fancy castle. There's not like a storm cellar, that wouldn't happen. But I like the idea of saying like, what would you look for? Is a really good way, I think, of letting your players decorate the thing of like, what kind of thing are you looking for? What would you use? What's been part of the plan to get up to that? Any kind of question that lets you know what they're looking for, and then you can say yes or no.
I also really like throwing an NPC at them, just one that I want to use, and seeing how they contextualize that character, and learning from that and building the space around that.
Man, sometimes the most difficult job of a DM is to figure out the order in which you let people, like if somebody says, I want to backflip over the wall, I want to talk to the guard, I want to pretend to be one of the caterers, it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to start with the talking to the guard, and then go to the caterers, and then go back to the wall, because information might come out in a list of the next two means, and it's like, you try back to the wall, and that goes badly, that could ruin it for these other two, so you want to save the risk. So yeah, that kind of thing, of figuring out what everyone wants to do before you move forward, would be the way to go.
Cool, so let's talk about this masquerade. Okay, so we've got like people, the equipment, right?
Yeah.
We've got, what other people? We've got all the entourage of like the people that you have to get through the barrier in order to get to this guy. And you have like the caterers.
Right.
So let's start naming people, other than what I just said.
I would say probably I would introduce with the young nobles, like there's this really like sycophantic NPC, like another noble who just loves when people fawn over him. I'd say like if you can get yourself into his entourage, like you're in. Like he always brings like 20, just beautiful people around him to make him look cool. You can get in there, but you're in with him, right? And I like the idea of introducing some kind of head of security or some kind of like head of household. It's like, now that's the tough one, you gotta get past them. Let's see, maybe a dog.
Yeah, totally.
A dog. That's great. Dogs are great, huh?
So everyone, so it's a masquerade full of people, but not everyone's gonna get along.
Yeah. So also not everyone has to be evil. Like that's the other thing, that you can have mutually good, like other nobles. Maybe there are other nobles who are unhappy with the way things work. Maybe there's a social climber who would love to become the new, like, baron or whatever. And it's like, we can play with those, like, things that you can, like, see doubt maybe that help you get information about the other people. Like, that's where I like gossip in my head. It's like,
So you're like the heavy social intelligence. Cool. which can turn into combat encounters.
But one of my favorite things about social encounters in the game is it's not just the dice roll, right? That's when it's honestly like the dialogue we are having, we are making character choices as we're doing game mechanics. And so I can like give you information and you feel like you actually like were a detective and I just got the information instead of just, oh, you rolled an 18, so yeah, it says that in the book, right? Like, well, you have to do that sometimes. But I think that like the social interactions make them feel a lot more proactive because it's all about the questions they ask and the way that they respond.
Yeah, a lot of what we're talking about is listening to your players and a lot of improv. I mean, you know, sometimes my scripts for my games are just a page of written notes, like, okay, this hour we'll probably do this hour we'll do that, and at the end I'll put this together, and then hopefully we'll get to this location, and then there's this thing inside of a thing, and I just kind of make it up on the fly based on what you said, which is kind of what I would almost write this as. We have some very loose things. Not everything has to look like a D&D campaign book.
Right.
You know, when it's your notes, it's for you, and you interpret it the way you want to. It's only when you put it on like the DM skill that you need a little more structure.
And what I really like about what we're kind of constructing here is it feels specific, but it's completely general. So like when you can give specific goals, if you have to get into the party, you have to find out where the thing is hidden, you have to find the thing, right? And that feels like, whoa, if you blow a roll, it goes really bad. But actually, like, you're leaving all of these windows and all of these things open of like, if a roll goes bad, can you save it? Can you, like, you know, instead of just like, well, you failed, so game's done. Like, it's not fun, it's not, but so like, I like giving specific goals with really open kind of ideas.
Cool. So we have an opulent masquerade, and the main objective is to get information out of the king. So, what is the biggest obstacle here? Not just like getting to him, but like what is it about our king that's going to be hard for them?
It's a great question. What do you think?
Like, this is all fun and games, but I want the grit. I want it to, where's the encounter to be hard part?
I think that, one, I would make him wary. I think I would make him very aloof, right? Make it so that because if he has this secret, if he has this thing that he's worried that if someone finds out about his power and undermines his power, right? He's not having 6 drinks and telling everybody about it at the party, right? So he's being good, showing, maybe he's removed, maybe like you have some kind of, you know, like upper level that he's on that he only lets like very, like certain people come up and talk to him, right? So you have to get from the ground floor with all the other party goers to get up to him on the second level. Specific goals.
I also would like the idea of a difficulty being that the king may not know where his power comes from either. So maybe he has like, oh, it's this object that gives me this power, and the seer knows. So there's like an extra layer of corruption or intrigue that they have to get through to find the real truth.
Okay, so where is this real truth? Where's the real truth?
Probably in
In the smart cellar.
Yeah, I always like going through like a character's bedroom to get somewhere, right? Because it's like just saying that is like feels intrusive, right? There's something about like being at a party and sneaking away to like peek in someone's bedroom. You're like, I don't know why this feels wrong, but I shouldn't be doing this, right? And then it's like, and then you pull a sconce and the bookshelf opens and you're like, oh, it's even more intrusive.
And then there can be a puzzle, and I love the puzzle riddles in my games, and so giving that chance to have some kind of puzzle, secret
Security
thing,
systems.
yeah.
I like a pressurized floor. Like that's the thing. I've done this before where I've had like where I've drawn a map and I have it where it's like labeled and like blacked out squares where you like step on those squares and then you like give a character some kind of like glasses where they can see. I did this lesson made me really happy where they had to describe to the person going through the map they could see that the other person couldn't. So I made it like a real life like puzzle where it's just like, okay, you want to go like forward and 3 over, like 3 which way? To the right, right? And so then the person had to like draw on a piece of paper grid that wasn't blacked out where they were going, and if they stepped on a square on my side, then they got
Okay, so it's gonna be a checkerboard floor in the bedroom. And that sounds amazing. Okay, quick, what happens if they step on?
I always like that if a roll fails, that you have some kind of like an alarm starts going off. You have a minute, you hear footsteps in the hallway, right? So now it's like you still have a chance, right? Where you could jump out the window, hide behind the curtains, or like lock the door, or fight on their way in. I always like letting players feel like even though things have just gone off the rails, you're still in control, and you still get to make choices, right? I'm not going to take those choices away from you.
You just have this much time.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, they get through the secret door. They solve the puzzles or not. But eventually they get through. And now you're in a room about this big. And in the center of which kind of looks like a microphone, you can see it. There's a sensor. Write it down. It's the dungeon master. Okay, obstacle in the room.
I would say like one of the things you could do that I would do because I'm annoying, which is not like maybe have it be like a magical like some kind of thing is holding this in the center, right? And you don't see any wires, you don't see any chains, anything like that. So you have to figure out like how to lower and open this like chamber that's just like a sphere floating in the center. And I probably wouldn't reveal what was in it, right? Make it like some kind of like opaque thing where you can definitely see some kind of magical things in there, but you don't know what. So you can do the like foggy reveal, and then like the smoke clears, and there's like a person in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So they get to the place. They're missing a whole bunch of hit points. They need to rest. How do you keep the momentum going and also have this new conflict introduced? I also hate it when my players rest. Stuff that bothers me, actually.
I mean, that's why I always like knocking people unconscious, right? So like you free them in a shockwave, like, and when you wake up, you feel better. But anything that's like, because that's the thing, is when you're playing the game, there's very rare, like, I want to lay down and take a nap. It's like, but you're in a dungeon, you'll die.
So, what do we do to express that this creature was better off in a scepter? That's step 7.
Look at the center sensor.
Yeah.
I mean,
We have 5 minutes left.
I would say probably when you release them, like, they go like Super Saiyan and just start like melting.
Oh, cool. So they blast through a wall and start, so the players have to start chasing after them.
Yeah, especially like if they know that this like king baron person was the one holding them captive, so they just like go up to like, cool, thank you for setting me free. I need to go murder everyone. For this, and everyone's responsible, and I won't stop until everybody who like kept me in chains and benefited from me in chains is dead.
And it also, if they do set off the alarm, then the vizier knows and is rushing down to warn them before, and so then the Jimmy elemental goes, and the vizier is here to be like, why did you do that?
I like that. See, what I really love about that is that it seems like the vizier is corrupt, right? But the vizier knows and has been like, maybe they're an elf, right? And it's a human family, so they've been there the whole time. While the family has gotten corrupted, they've been the ones like controlling the one. So then you have someone who can come and say, you don't understand. Like if you would just talk to me, something that they can then say, like here's what happened, and now you're working together to try to control it. The tide is turning.
Yeah, but what if they don't? What if they don't solve it and it kills everyone? And that is the open ending.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this game? It also helps you have your friends like to bounce your ideas off of.
Oh man, I do that every time. Like I reach out to people, even if they never like. If I just say like, if I came to you and said, hey, I want to do this thing, like, what would you say? What's your first thought? Right? Always talking. Always ask questions.
Okay, my friends, I will give you some options. Either we can start naming things, or we start the Q&A, and whoever stands at that mic to ask a question, they get to answer my question of what the name is of a thing.
Always steal from your player.
Yeah. Let them do the heavy lifting. I mean,
It's Q&A time, so please line up. I think we've got about 10 minutes. Yeah, we got 10 minutes. Oh, you're so active. I love this. This is the coolest panel. I'm having such a fun time. What is your name?
whatever name you want to give us.
Yeah. You look like a link.
Yes. I'm thinking.
Do you remember playing with me, Satine?
I can't see it.
From the auction? Anyway, I missed it.
Yeah! Oh my god, what's up? Also, your ears are different, and you're also very far away.
Okay. So, you told a story that was very linear. What do you do when your players just go way off track, where they completely flub up the puzzle, and you just have no idea how to get them to succeed?
So that's a really great chance to take a break. Is to say okay, cool, yeah, everybody go grab some pizza. I'm gonna need 10 minutes, you know? That's the thing. So I am a parent now. I have an almost 3-year-old, and being a DM is a lot like being a parent, where you don't need to know everything. You just need to know a little bit more than them. Which is really easy when they're 3.
What is the name of the king?
King Aiden.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello. Oh,
What
hi.
is your
Hello.
name?
Hi, my name is Sydney. First of all, before I say my question, I would just like to say, Travis, I told my best friend that you were going to be on this panel, and he said specifically that you were his favorite McElroy, and to say that he loves you. So, I just
Tell him I love him too.
Okay, what's his name? Yeah, he's great. Anyway, what is your advice on incorporating world building into a campaign that's not based on the societal thing? I have a more fantasy-driven campaign, but I still have cool world building and no idea how to involve it. But I want to show my players that I actually put in work.
Well, there's a thing called WorldAnimal.com, which is what sponsors Idle Champions, and WorldAnimal sponsor this show. And go on there, and what you can do, there's a lot of prompts on it, which is not just a thing that I'm selling you. It's actually really cool. It's for gaming and writing. So if you want to, it shows you all these things, and you can pick where you want to start.
I would also say that for me, world building is a lot like studying for a test when you don't know what's going to be on the test, right? You have to study way too much and know way too much, and then only use 10% of it, right? And so for me, a lot of world building becomes me being comfortable in the world, so that if they should ask, what's the main export of the neighboring village or whatever, I can say it, but it's probably never going to come up. But I like doing it, right? So I do it. So my advice, because I've made this mistake many times, never force your world building on your players, because it will bore them.
Intrigue them enough about your world to have them ask you the question.
Thank you. Okay, what is the name of the Vizier?
Marlo McAllister.
Yes, I like it. Good.
Thank you.
Hi, Brian. So I've been asking a bunch of GMs this, and GMs this. So I am GMing a game for the first time in 20 years, to my friends who it's their first game. I like the setting and atmosphere, which is what I call whimsical Lovecraft Shakespeare. We're going into the second session of TwitchCon. The first session was WonderCon, and because it was WonderCon, I sort of was like, we're doing Disneyland. But I don't want to do that anymore. And it's only the second session. But I like a lot of the ideas and stuff. But so what is your advice? Somebody in my position, what is the best way to still respect the 20 pages of written notes that I have and the story that I created. But still sort of.
Yeah. Okay. You know, one of the things that Griffin does on the Adventure Zone that everyone should steal is that when we as players go to a different location, it's a very different genre. So like in Rockport, it's like a train mystery borrow kind of thing, and then we go to in Pedals to the Metal, it's like a full-blown like Fast and Furious death race, and then it's like a western, and then it's like a weird Hunger Games punishing, terrifying thing. And so that's the thing, it's like you can keep the same characters, right, and reboot the genre while still being in the same, because it's your world, right? So maybe in the next village over, it's 100 years more technologically advanced. Okay, cool. Like, no one's gonna tell you that's not true, because you made it up.
Like, they don't know what you know. Everything that comes out of your mouth is new to them. So whether you prepared, 20 pages or you have 3 sentences, they'll believe you.
Okay.
Just have a bunch of file folders full of blank paper, they'll never know.
Okay, here's your question. What is the name of the doggy?
Brixel Pie.
Thank you so much. Cool, we've got, what, 5 minutes? Okay, we have, oh my God, I'm so honored. You guys are all asking so many questions. We'll keep them short, we'll keep our answers short. Dungeon Masters, go ahead.
Real quick question. What are your least favorite fantasy tropes?
Any tropes.
I love tropes.
I think, so I'll try and keep my answer short. I like a trope when it is a choice that you are making because it moves the story forward and it honors the characters and it works for the thing. I think you need to be careful of using any trope as like shorthand or out of laziness or not as a conscious choice. When we started Adventure Zone, we were really bad about that. And then we realized that by making sure it was a choice, it made the story more interesting. So the answer is be mindful trope. I think is okay.
Cool. All right. Who are we naming?
Let's name the young noble.
No.
Estrella?
Thank you so much. Thank you for your question.
Hi. My question is, what are your strategies for keeping one-shots engaging and giving a satisfying ending in a short amount of time?
Time and urgency, a time limit, something like an alarm going off, or something gonna strike, the clock's gonna strike midnight and.
We have one chance at this,
Yeah.
anything like that. Because that it will immediately instill urgency in the players,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's completely made up fantasy bullshit.
That's my favorite thing, to keep it engaging. As far as a satisfying ending, it depends on the players. I like to try and listen to each person at my table and find a little nugget of something that they want and give it to them by the end of the session, however long the session is.
Don't make the ending you're trying to achieve the actual thing they're trying to achieve in a one shot, right? Like if you're trying to like free somebody, stop somebody, end somebody, whatever, that's not the actual ending. Them feeling like they have completed some kind of arc within their own character, that's the ending they're trying to get to. That way, even if they fuck up, I keep cursing, I'm so sorry.
So I do this thing on all of my one-shots now, at conventions especially. It's a 5-minute improv where I ask a series of questions. I actually listed them on episode 4 of Storyteller's Guide. And what it does is I introduce another character who's no longer with them, and I have them create it. And they go through a very short, like, what happened last year's session. And then by the 5 minutes, they are friends, they have this history, I can develop that for them. Thank you so much.
Hello. My question is, in terms of kind of skirting the railroading line, if your players say, for example, the masquerade doesn't seem like it, we should go check out the local cemetery, because that just goes completely off the rails. How long do you try to kind of guide them back towards where the storyline is, and at what point do you just scrap it and just start making things up?
My answer to that is that at that point, that's why it's really great to have an NPC like the young noble or somebody who's your window, so that if they want to do something like that, we need to sell that NPC on it, at which point they're writing their new part of the story, right? So once they give you enough information to justify this new direction, then you can say like, okay, let's do it. And they've already like started the skeleton of the story, and you're just filling in what they've already prompted you.
You can still keep a lot of your same story hooks, you just kind of reskin them into this new cemetery or whatever else they've chosen, and you still get to tell the story with them.
Thank you. We only have time for one more question. So yours is the last question, but you can find me outside for 5 minutes.
Real quick, I'm a father of 2 young girls who both really want to do everything that I'm doing. They love D&D. I'm finding it difficult translating this into a game that I can like scale down to their ages, 7 and 6, without devolving into my character is dead, or I want to be friends with the goblins instead. Like, no, kill the goblins. What are your tips for dealing with our game masters with younger kids?
So if my players want to be friends with the goblin, I'd be way into that.
Yeah, it's actually a post called Playground Adventures, and they're written specifically for different age ranges of kids, and it shows them how to interact with different things. So by the time I think they're 10 or 11, you can start killing things, but the other ones are more puzzles and how to confront and talk.
We actually I just had an event with our Damsels cast at our local game store with kids from 8 to 13, and it was an epic. Run who did that? Because it was. And you have to give them, we found that we gave them the freedom to be friends with the goblins, they just ended up telling their own stories, and they always still want to have an adventure. And you just limit the options that they have so that they don't get too overwhelmed with the amount of choice that they could take. And just give them like a couple of juicy things that they can have right now where that leads them.
Because at the end of the day, kids are way better at pretending than adults are. And so the hard thing is, I think it's not hard to get kids to pretend well. It's really hard for you to be open enough to say like, okay, yeah, now I'm pretending at your level. So I think like a lot of it is, and they're also not going to judge you the same way as like, some 30-year-olds who you have to impress. Like, if you say to the kids like, yeah, and there's a big dragon there, what do you do? Like, that's enough. That's all they need. That's all the prompt they need.
And storytelling, there's not all stories are for all people. You should keep your game for you and your kid's story for them. And that is the end of our panel. Panel is
and Instagram at Kailey Bray, and you can find me everywhere at Dice and Dice for the Damsels show.
You can find me on Twitter at Travis McElroy, and you can find me here at Comic-Con at a bunch of things, but Sunday at 11 a.m. in room 7AB, me and Clint, that's my dad, and Carrie Peach with Satine, basically moderating. We're doing a panel about the Adventure Zone graphic novel that we have out. Thank you very much. Murder on the Rock World Limited. It's available now wherever fine books are sold, probably. It's downstairs with the first second booth. And there's trading cards of it. Thank you very much.
Satine's signature selfie real quick. I'm Satine Phoenix. You can find me at Satine Phoenix on everything on the internet. Please watch Storyteller's Guide on Gilding Lights, my new company, showing that stories are so easy to tell and you should tell them. Are you ready for the selfie?